foreshadow. Be warning of, or to indicate or suggest something, usually something unpleasant, is going to happen. If you've been paying attention at all, you know that not only was 9/11 another false flag attack perpetrated by the powers that shouldn't be, but it was also foreshadowed before it happened a ridiculous number of times in every form of media imaginable. A favorite place for the cabal to do their foreshadowing is in popular cartoons like Family Guy and The Simpsons. And of all the obvious 9/11 references in the 1997 Simpsons episode, City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, one scene actually gives us a big clue to something else they've done. Something that might be one of the biggest jokes they've played on us yet. Making us carry around pictures of 9/11's horrors in our wallet on their fiat paper currency. In one particular scene of this Simpsons episode, the family is discussing going to Manhattan. Lisa holds up a bus schedule that clearly shows 9 and 11, the 11 represented by the Twin Towers on the front cover. This, paired with talk of going to New York where 9/11 happened, is already rather brazen, but then Bart holds up a bunch of money in front of the numbers 9 and 11. The price of the bus trip or the reason unemployed 10-year-old Bart has this cash does not come up at any other point in the episode. It's simply a clue within a clue, 9/11 and money. So let's take a close look at our money. When this episode aired, the Rockefellers' Federal Reserve had just released a new series of bills with changes made to all of the buildings on the backs of the 5 to the 100. No significant changes had been made to the backs of the bills since the 1928 series. On the new 1996 series of bills, all of the same buildings appeared on the same denominations, but each one was either moved a bit or a completely different side of the same building was now shown. The Lincoln Memorial has always appeared on the modern $5 bill, but on the new 5, the building was widened and lowered down a bit. On the new 10, the Treasury building has gone from an angled view to a dead-on frontal view. The new 20 has gone from showing the famous view of the south side of the White House with the round portico to the completely opposite north side. There are actually 2 new 50s. The old bill from 1928 showed the east side of the Capitol building, but as of the 96 series, the west side now appears. The 96 series shows a blank sky behind the building, but as of the 2004 series, big white clouds appear behind the west side view. They barely touched Independence Hall on the back of the $100 bill, except to move it up just slightly. To see these pictures for yourself, you'll need a current $5, $10, $20, and $100 bill. You'll also need 2 $50 bills, one without the clouds from somewhere between 1996 and 2004, and the new 2004 series bill with the clouds. Both are still in circulation as of 2013. Place each bill face up, fold the bottom up, find the center point, and bring both ends up like so. Folded this way, the old bills showed nothing of note. But the new bills show these 6 scenes, each one framed by an arch. The arch shape framing each scene was added to every bill that didn't already have it as of the 1996 series. It represents the Washington Square Arch, which is about 2 miles north and to the east of where the towers once stood. More about that arch in a moment. These 6 folded bills, all but one of them released 5 years before 9/11, depict the scenes that took place before, during, and after that horrible day. The $5 bill shows what looks like 2 towers, but they're shorter than the towers on the 10 and the 20. This is because in this scene they're still being built. David Rockefeller spearheaded the project to build the towers in the late 1960s. Together with his brother Nelson, New York governor at the time, they made deals, flexed political muscle, and soon the Port Authority of New York initiated eminent domain proceedings against the outraged residents and businesses in Lower Manhattan that stood where the Rockefellers wanted the towers built. Over 300 businesses were displaced and destroyed to make way for the towers. Here's David Rockefeller in 1967 on the cover of Newsweek, less than 1 year after the groundbreaking for the WTC began. The hands on his watch, which is prominently displayed, are set at 9 and 11. The folded $5 bill shows the Twin Towers in the midst of their construction. You can even see something that looks like the kangaroo cranes used to build the towers on the top. The folded $5 bill is scene 1, towers being built. The $10 bill shows the tower on the right, which, through the arch, would be the North Tower, with what looks like fire and smoke close to the top. The North Tower was the first one that was hit on 9/11 between the 93rd and 98th floors of the 110-floor building at 8:46 a.m. Note that the artist decided for some reason to make a few leaves going in a different direction than the rest right here, exactly where the iconic first plane hole on the north side of the North Tower would appear on 9/11/2001. The folded $10 bill is scene 2, North Tower hit. The $20 bill shows the tower on the left now with the fire and smoke, much lower than the one on the right. This is because the South Tower would be hit next, about 20 floors lower than the North at 9:03 a.m. A close-up of the top areas of the 20 shows clustered groups of oval shapes supposedly representing leaves, but none of these leaves are found in the close-up of any of the other bills. Many of these oval shapes seem to be arranged one on top of the other. Could we be looking at something else they knew would happen on 9/11? Are these representative of their victims, clamoring for air in the final moments of their lives, piled on top of each other in the extremely narrow windows of the towers? The folded $20 bill is scene 3, South Tower hit. The 1996 $50 bill and the 2004 $50 bill show the next two scenes, but they're out of order. I guess even arrogant, psychotic Satanists have to be a little bit subtle. The 2004 $50 bill, folded, is an obvious depiction of the towers being demolished. Scene 4. The 1996 $50 bill shows scene 5, Nothing Through the Arch, which is how the view looked from after the destruction of the Twin Towers on September 11, 2001, until the next scene was made reality around 2009. In 2007, despite a great deal of opposition from local politicians and the artists and residents who use Washington Square Park, the City of New York Parks Department and Rockefella cohort Mayor Michael Bloomberg pushed through a park renovation project, spending tens of millions of dollars to, among other things, move the Washington Square Park's fountain from the place where it had been located in the center of the park for 138 years. The new spot for the fountain? 22 feet east, so that it now sits almost in line with the opening in the archway. This is the view through the arch today. The folded $100 bill is the sixth scene, the water fountain. There's a biblical connotation to the entire 9/11 ritual that explains why this water fountain would be the final step. The Twin Towers and Building 7 represented Solomon's temple. The view of the fountain through the arch today signifies the water siphoned to the temple to wash away the massive amounts of blood from the sacrifices that took place there. Here are two pieces of King Solomon's actual aqueduct on display at the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem. This water fountain through this arch is what one will see today when traveling down Fifth Avenue from Midtown to Lower Manhattan. Someone like David Rockefeller, who has a home in Midtown Manhattan. David has been making the trip south to Lower Manhattan since at least the 1950s. Ever since he had his office built 3 blocks from where he would then have the World Trade Center built. The residents who opposed the moving of the fountain altogether are still angry about the destruction of the character of the historic park, the cutting down of dozens of mature trees, and the lack of funds left over for normal maintenance. They've also noted that the fountain is still not aligned with the arch in Fifth Avenue, which was the excuse given for moving it all along. Here's what the new fountain is in line with. As for the Washington Square Arch itself, it was supposedly erected to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Washington's inauguration. Designed by Stanford White and built in the 1890s, White also designed the nearby Judson Memorial Church, which was financed by David Rockefeller's grandfather, John D. Rockefeller. The arch is said to have been built to frame the view of the church, but it only does that from the side. What the arch did frame perfectly was the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. How interesting that John D. Rockefeller's grandson, David, would see to it that the towers were built in the perfect spot to be framed by that arch in the late 1960s.
The two of you, when you were a leader at Chase Manhattan and he was governor, were responsible for, really, the World Trade Center.
We worked together on that.
He has left his imprint on urban redevelopment projects from Lower Manhattan to San Francisco's Embarcadero.
Lower Manhattan to San Francisco's Embarcadero.
Lower Manhattan.
our wallet on their fiat paper currency. In one particular scene of this Simpsons episode, the family is discussing going to Manhattan. Lisa holds up a bus schedule that clearly shows 9 and 11, the 11 represented by the Twin Towers on the front cover. This, paired with talk of going to New York where 9/11 happened, is already rather brazen. But then Bart happened. If you've been paying attention at all, you know that not only was 9/11 another false flag attack perpetrated by the powers that shouldn't be, but it was also foreshadowed before it happened a ridiculous number of times in every form of media imaginable. A favorite place for the cabal to do their foreshadowing is in popular foreshadow. Be warning of, or to indicate or suggest something, usually something unpleasant, is going to happen. Cartoons like Family Guy and The Simpsons. And of all the obvious 9/11 references in the 1997 Simpsons episode, City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, one scene actually gives us a big clue to something else they've done. Something that might be one of the biggest jokes they've played on us yet. Making us carry around pictures of 9/11's horrors, and it holds up a bunch of money in front of the numbers 9 and 11. The price of the bus trip or the reason unemployed 10-year-old Bart has this cash does not come up at any other point in the episode. It's simply a clue within a clue, 9/11 and money. So let's take a close look at our money.